Big welcome to distinguished guests and to all in the sustainable finance community, including our valued members, leaders from the UN and beyond. We're really pleased to be hosting our third UNEP-FI Regional Roundtable for Latin America and the Caribbean virtually for the first time. Thank you to our headline partners, IDB and IDB Invest, our gold sponsors, RepRisk, and bronze sponsors, the Eco Business Fund. Now, this time 2 years ago, we were in Brazil for the second regional roundtable. The years since have been certainly very challenging for so many people, communities, and industries. What's clear is that the finance sector has stepped up and helped keep the economy running, including beyond all the near-term urgencies, striving to begin aligning more closely with climate and sustainability goals. Now, whilst we deal with two pressing global threats head-on, COVID-19 and the evolving climate crisis, the deadline to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals is also fast approaching. The UN's high-level framework, the SDGs, the report in 2020 assessed where we were at and underlined that the world is not on track to achieve these goals by 2030. Now, before the COVID-19 outbreak, progress had to be bumpy, to say the least, and the pandemic abruptly disrupted implementation towards many of these objectives. In some cases, it's turned back decades of progress. In Latin America, the pandemic could generate the largest recession the region has experienced since the 1930s. But governments and the finance sector should not lose sight of other social and environmental challenges as they develop the recovery measures. Inequalities have become even more evident during the COVID-19 pandemic. This has disproportionately impacted people who are vulnerable. Without intervention, financial inclusion and poor financial health limits individuals' access to economic opportunities and perpetuates inequality and economic insecurity. For the environmental perspective, the latest IPCC report has warned that global surface temperatures have risen faster since 1970 than in any half century in the past 2 millennia, and that some of the damage will be permanent. In 2 decades, it will be averaging 1.5 degrees Celsius hotter than before the industrial age, and we're getting close to various what we call tipping points. However, this is truly a year of climate action, and the financial community is reacting to the call. Enhancing sustainable financing strategies whilst transforming the financial system at regional and country levels is critical to direct the much needed capital for sustainable future sustainable trajectories. While countries in the regions have made significant progress, they face quite a number of challenges, including building human capacities and creating a supportive enabling environment. 8 financial regulators in the region are members of the Network for Greening the Financial System, the NGFS, and several countries and organizations in the region have already made quite serious net zero climate emissions commitments. As UNEP-FI, we're mandated to deliver on the UN's environmental agenda to support the Paris Agreement and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Whether we do this through industry standards, such as the Principles of Responsible Banking, or thematic work, such as the Net Zero Alliances, or the newly launched Task Force for Nature-Related Financial Disclosures. 25 of the world's largest investors have now signed a net zero commitment. And just in April of this year, UNEP-FI, we were very pleased to bring together 43 of the world's leading banks together to form the UN-convened Net Zero Banking Alliance with 8 banks from the Latin American Caribbean region. Now, this group joins the UN-convened Net Zero Asset Owners Alliance with its 37 members and the just launched Net Zero Insurance Alliance. So many banks, insurers, and investors are committing to making their operations and their portfolios carbon neutral by 2050, signaling that to the best of their abilities, they will support the transition to a 1.5 degree world. And they're working together to get it done, which is the central tenet of UNEP-FI's existence. The businesses that we finance, invest in, and insure depend on nature and biodiversity. The world's oceans, forests, and lands provide much of the raw materials, goods, and services which underpin the global economy. Around 60% of the global terrestrial life and diverse freshwater and marine species can be found within the region. The Amazon region alone houses 10% of the world's biodiversity. So protecting Latin America's biodiversity is key to meeting global climate goals. Latin America and the Caribbean is a region shaped by the ocean. Almost all countries have important ocean coastlines, and 25% of the region's population live on the coast, with the number reaching nearly 100% in the Caribbean island states. So focusing attention on the blue economy promotes economic growth, social inclusion, and improvement of livelihoods, while also certainly ensuring cleaner seas. The worsening state of the ocean health, coupled with the devastating economic impact of COVID-19, highlights the importance of redirecting investments towards oceans. And this starts with properly accounting for the value of the natural capital embodied in the blue economy. So a whole ecosystem of net zero and biodiversity commitments, targets, and actions from the financial sector is blossoming, but we need to crucially to ensure the integrity of financial sector actions. The IPCC says it's not too late to avoid the worst economic consequences of climate change. For that to happen, though, the world must have its carbon emissions by 2030 and for all countries to attain net zero emissions by 2050. And the finance sector has a very important role to play in this, much as it has been in weathering COVID-19. So we're very encouraged by the giant leap forward that many financial institutions have taken, and we look forward to working with you to accelerating this progress. I wish you all a successful event. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure for me and an honor at the same time, having been chosen to provide these words as a welcome to all of you to this regional roundtable for Latin America regarding sustainable finance. I am ProduBanco CEO here in Ecuador. ProduBanco is a commercial bank that is completely committed with sustainability, and it's one of our strategic pillars. I believe that today, sustainable banking is a world of opportunity for the financial industry, with the possibility of mitigating the challenges and the risks, and these create our business acumen. It's not a novelty that the planet is facing today some challenges worldwide, such as a socioeconomic crisis as a result of the pandemic, but as well as the climate challenge that the humanity is going through. And it's a reality that we hope we're all aware of it. Without a doubt, it's an important challenge that we have as society, is this crisis and the extreme conditions that we're facing in many regions of the world. And this is why we are perhaps one of the original member banks that signed the responsible banking principles by the United Nations. And I also have the honor of presiding, not presiding, but being one of the directors within the board of UNEP-FI in the world. And this, in addition, commits us even further. As well, we are very proud of being perhaps one of the very few banks, 43 banks actually from 27 different countries, that are committed with the Net Zero Banking Alliance, that although is a very interesting issue regarding compliance that we have to follow, but quite definitely that is the commitment that we have going forward. If I may use the phrase that somebody who's always at the forefront of these issues, I want to comment that without a planet, we have no business. And quite definitely, that is the vision of an organization that is looking to the mid and long terms. Sustainable development has its essence set on that long term, and it will require actions that present an impact that comprise a challenge, an investment even, but quite definitely the return is there in the fact that it is the time that the businesses will accompany all those who are boosting all of these issues. I think that as society, as business corporations, as banks, we have to transform. We have to change our lineal mindset in our processes and think about this circular economy that the world requires and generate actions that can generate further changes in the culture and those of behavior of the various sectors. So I bid you well and much success in this event, and thank you very much again for having chosen me to welcome you to this event. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome all those persons who are with us today in this fantastic event organized by our colleagues from UNEP FI, with whom we have been joining efforts for quite some time now, with a clear vision, which is to create a financial system that is more sustainable, aware of all the impacts in the earth and society. I am Maricela Alvarenga, financial investor for IDB Invest, and the main source of financing for the development of Latin America and the Caribbean. The IDB Group seeks to improve lives by providing integral solutions to clients from the public sector as well as from the private one, guided by our institutional strategy called Vision 2025, focused on 5 priorities: in regional integration, climate change, gender equality and diversity, digital economy, and support to SMEs. The financial system is in a unique position to boost the change and contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals and the alignment with the Paris Accord. By adopting sustainable agreements in the central investment areas, banking, and insurance, all of the stakeholders of the financial sector can create opportunities and achieve moving from doing business as usual to integrating environmental, social, and governance issues to lead models and long-term strategies that do not only integrate the economic yields, but also consider achieving a green recovery that achieves the transition towards low-carbon economies that are inclusive and sustainable for the future of Latin America and the Caribbean. From IDB Invest, we are committed with the financial sector, and we put at your behest financial products that include loans, guarantees, and investments, financing for mixed companies. And furthermore, we can give you advice to accompany you in increasing your impact in development and in issues such as climate change, gender diversity, sustainability, and SMEs and public-private associations. Finally, we seek to generate and to share our knowledge in the region through events such as this one or of publications and studies. I would like to highlight a few trends that we see in the marketplace and that from IDB Invest we have been supporting and that will be discussed in further detail during these days. First of all, sustainable development through innovative tools such as the thematic bonds or those bonds that are liaised to sustainability issues. From IDB Invest, we have supported 20 social, green, and sustainable bonds for an amount of $1.2 billion, supporting women-led SMEs, energy efficiency, and green investments, a combination of both. As well, we are underway of speeding up the emission of green and blue bonds, which we'll talk about in these days. And secondly, from the IDB Group, we're supporting the circular economy and its funding through the financial system. For example, in Colombia, we are working with Bancoltex and 2 other commercial banks to define a taxonomy and understand the market needs and develop financing tools to address the needs not only of great corporations, but also from the SMEs through the value chain. We will talk in further detail during these days. I want to also highlight that we're working jointly with UNEP-FI in a study regarding the panorama of financing of the circular economy in Latin America and the Caribbean. And thirdly, decarbonization. The financial sector seeks contributing with decarbonization of the portfolios and investments by seeking net zero investments for 2050. From IDB Invest, we are supporting partners to set forth that roadmap with the commitments of short, mid, and long terms that would lead us to achieve these net zero emission goal for 2050. These are some of the examples of the important issues that we're following close by and that we're supporting through the IDB Group. We know that the financial institutions are agents of change, transformational agents that can contribute to addressing the environmental challenges and those social and economic ones to which our region is going through. This will also require leadership, innovation, and commitment by all of us present here today in their institutions. You can count on the IDB Group to further these issues, and hope that these days you can be inspired and convinced of the role that we're playing to contribute to improve the planet and the future of the new generations. Thank you.